Okay, I want to welcome everybody to the EDF podcast. Once again, we are back to talk NBA playoffs. I am your host at Gourmet Casanova. We have Lamar and Liam, both my sidekicks by my side once again. How are you guys?
I'm good.
Okay, doing all right.
Doing doing all right. Oh, look, there's a jersey. Somehow two of them came out when I wasn't looking here. What do you got there, Liam?
We got the Giannis jersey and we got the Devin Booker jersey because all attention is focused to go Bucks and go Suns with a little sprinkle of go Clippers. That's why it's a shirt. It's not a jersey. It's not as important. Listen, we're no Hawks. All right. If it's got to be the Clippers, it's got to be the Clippers. But we're really pulling for the Bucks and the Suns.
Shouldn't that be a number 13 on that Clippers shirt there? What is it?
I have a Paul George Thunder jersey.
Uh-huh.
It's not as suitable.
All right. Well, we want to get started with some NBA playoffs because obviously that's the biggest thing going on right now. And of course, I want to start with your love, your heartbreak, the Philadelphia 76ers. They went down in game 7. Trae Young. Tell me what happened, Liam.
I'm just gonna take these off because I just need the floor for a couple minutes. I've been waiting to say everything just like at once to people who care.
Yeah.
But like the disappointment level is beyond 10. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, my disappointment level is at a 23, and it's just unbelievable how we got to this point. We did our business in the regular season through a Joel Embiid injury to get the 1 seed and have this easy path to the conference finals. And when I say easy path, I still mean it because we should have beaten the Hawks. And I'll give credit to the Hawks later. I'm talking about the Sixers now. The Hawks deserve flowers, and I'll talk about it in a little bit. But the Sixers did all of this when so just like what if the Nets had gotten the 1 seed? Like what would we have looked like in Milwaukee in the second round? What happens when Milwaukee beats Atlanta in 4 or 5 games and just makes the Sixers look even worse? Joel Embiid just had an incredible playoff series on a partially torn meniscus. He's had an incredible playoffs on a partially torn meniscus. And his coach, his teammates, and the preceding front offices before Daryl Morey have all failed Joel Embiid up until this point. And this collapse says it all. First off, Doc Rivers has his plethora of playoff woes, right? In the past, he blew a 3-1 lead with your Orlando Magic, Paul. He blew 2 3-1 leads with the Clippers, including one last year. We weren't up 3-1. We were up 2-1. But here's the thing. We should have been up 3-0. What does he do in game 1? He puts Danny Green, slow foot Danny Green, can't move laterally that well anymore, Danny Green, on Trae Young, one of the shiftiest, quickest, smallest players in the NBA. You needed either speed at that size or length with Ben Simmons to guard him. And what you did was put Danny Green on him. They race out to a 26-point lead in game 1, and they almost cough it up to us because we really came on strong in the second half. You know what I said after game 1? I said, I'm not worried at all. Sixers in 6 because we proved that they should have left the floor game 1, even winning, knowing that we're the better team. And what do we do in games 2 and 3? We beat them. Pretty good, too. And we're up 18 points in game 4, and we're up 26 points in game 5 at home with 14 minutes left of game time. And you know what happened? Paul can speak to this very well because it was the same thing as Nuggets did last year. The team came back on Doc Rivers' watch, and his stubbornness and his blame deflection and his enabling of Ben Simmons to this point in the season has brought us to a culmination where little Trae Young, in his first ever playoff, with a coach who's been coaching him for half a season, is going to a conference final before any iteration of the process Sixers. It is unbelievable. It is pathetic. It is embarrassing. If I were to tell either of you before a playoff series, like realistically, that the Sixers would be up 2-1 and hold an 18 and 26 point lead in the 2 following games, win a road game 6 and have a home game 7. You know what you guys would say to me? You guys would say, how the hell did you get to a game 7 if you had an 18-point lead in game 4 and a 26-point lead in game 5 when you're up 2-1? And I would say, great question. I don't know. But here we are in game 7 at home anyway, and we lost. It was our worst game played of the series, and it's completely fitting. The Sixers are put out of their misery, and I'm not just going to blame Ben Simmons. I'm going to blame Doc Rivers. I'm going to blame I can put some blame on Joel Embiid. I really can. I'm trying not to be biased. I know but like I can put blame on a lot of people. But this is a failure on all fronts, an abject, massive failure. And you know the path was clear. AD and LeBron are gone. The 1 seed Utah Jazz are gone. If they were going to play the Clippers in the finals, there's a chance Kawhi's not playing. You don't have to play Kevin Durant, Harden, or Kyrie. You're going to have to go through, at worst, Giannis and then Chris Paul and Devin Booker. That was your path to the final, or at least to a competitive championship round. And you blew it to a first-time playoff team with a 22-year-old star. I'm sorry, I went on a little long. I had to get it off my chest. It's an embarrassment. An abject failure, and I am just beyond upset. Daryl Morey, you got your work cut out for you.
That is fine. That is how you expect it to be when you are a true fan, because when you're a true fan, it hurts. Lamar, what do you think happened to the Sixers?
I think they lost the series in game 5 when they blew that 26-point lead.
Why were they blowing those leads, though? Why were the Sixers, who have all the talent it looks like that they have, and go out and get Doc to get past this? I mean, we talked about this weeks ago, right? And the whole conversation was around the fact that Doc can do this. Doc can get them through this. So what happened to him?
I just think that when the Hawks made some adjustments and were attacking like that yesterday, they was attacking Steph Curry with her, and Doc Rivers waited too long to get Curry off of him. He already had got it going. It was too late. I mean,
who should they have been having guarding Young?
Either what's his name? Can't pronounce his name. Last name with a T.
Simmons or Thibault, the entire.
Yeah, Thibault. Yeah, that and.
So
and Ben. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Let's talk about Simmons for a minute, because you put him in that case, and we always have, and he was number 2, I believe, in the Defensive Player of the Year this year. For the award. So, I mean, we know he can play some defense, but his obvious lack of offense, it really, really hurt them. So what's wrong with Ben?
Well, we all know he don't shoot the ball, but he wasn't even aggressive going to the basket. It's like that post up he had in the 4th quarter where he did a nice spin move, had an easy dunk, and he passed the ball out. I was like, wow, he really shook and don't want to go to the free throw line. He didn't want no parts of the free throw line. And he only had 5 points. Your second best player can't have five points in a playoff game.
Right.
And not even attempting shots at the basket in the 4th quarter. Yeah, in the 4th quarter of some of these games.
Liam, was that the minute that Doc knew and everybody knew that it was time to get Ben out of there? I mean, he had that clear dunk that would have put them in a good position. He's going up, and then he just and passes the ball. I mean, did he not get pulled with a minute left after that?
He did, and I think more so than was that the moment that they were like, I gotta yank him. That was more the moment that will symbolically will be the symbolic image of Ben Simmons' tenure career in Philadelphia. It's also kind of symbolic of who Ben Simmons became, and it really feels like the past 2 weeks, but I'm going to say the entire season long, he's kind of diminished from even where he was last year. But as a rookie, he was much more aggressive. If you look up his summer league stats from when he was playing summer league in 2016 before he broke his foot,
Right.
he was hitting jumpers and taking them like nobody's business. Like I don't know if it's the pressure. I don't know if it's the mental just fragility, but that right there was everything that Ben Simmons has become this year, because he didn't look at the rim. And his excuse after the game, oh, I thought Gallinari might come over my back. Then how about you dunk it with him on your back and go shoot the free throw? Because if you miss the free throw, you still tied the game by getting the and one. And I'm sure you guys have seen the replay a trillion times. The person in front of him was Trae freaking Young. Like, he's a foot smaller than Ben Simmons and at least 80 pounds lighter. Like, it was just unreal. And then he passes it, by God, to the worst offensive option other than him on the floor. Like, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And you could see Joel Embiid's reaction, and Seth Curry even. No one's talking about that. Seth Curry had a reaction on the court as well. Same thing, throwing his hands up over his head. It was just it was Ben Simmons in a nutshell, and it was a very fitting ending to the series.
So let me ask you guys this then. And I know it's the obvious question that's coming, and it's going to be here for a while till we know for sure. And there's a big contract I know that's stuck onto the end of this, and there's all kinds of things that goes into this. But Lamar, tell me, have we seen the last time Ben Simmons the last in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Liam, you in Philly, how what the fans talking about out there? I'm pretty sure they not loving Simmons right now.
No, we have very, very hard and mean radio stations, and they've been blitzing all day on WIP and 97.5. So, we've seen the act before. There's nothing that's going to convince this fan base now that it can be fixed in postseasons to come. Because we know what the Sixers will be in the regular season. As long as they're healthy, they're going to be a top 4 seed in some sort of iteration with other teams in the Eastern Conference. And then they're going to either win their first round or draw a tough matchup in the first round and wilt in the first round. But they're not getting beyond the semifinals. And that's going to be a yearly thing in and out. And this fan base, while they are toxic and while they can be delusional, aren't stupid enough to think that this is going to change going forward. And that's not to think that I don't think Ben Simmons is a great player or can be, because I do think he can. I've always said I think he's like a poor man's Giannis, but he's not a poor man. He's just not Giannis, which is why I really am I'm really still upset Tillman Fertitta nixed the trade for Harden to come to Philly, because if you were to build around the Rocket, or like build around Ben Simmons on the Rockets and just put 4 shooters around him, he's deadly effective. And in that way, in the playoffs, he could just run into the 6 feet mark and have people reliable on the outside. It's a way that he could be playable in the playoffs if he have a team like Giannis.
Okay, but here's the question: if he's gone, if he has to be traded, he's got that large contract. Are the fans in Philly willing to give Darryl a little bit of leeway for? I mean, like, what do you expect back for Ben Simmons?
It can't be. There's a lot of talk of CJ McCollum in a straight swap, and like, while I wouldn't hate it, I wouldn't really love it either. And so I think of straight swap, and I always think that Daryl Morey has been the most active general manager in the league from a trade making standpoint, really, since he acquired James Harden. He always tried to maximize the roster year in and year out since he got Harden in Houston. And I expect him to take the same approach with Joel Embiid for however many years Joel Embiid has left on his big aching body. Because I'm on the record, as a Sixers fan, I think Joel's cooked by 31. I really do. So that gives us at most 4 more years to win a title, to put a really good team around Joel. And Daryl Morey has a 5-year contract, so he has 4 more years on the contract to do so with it.
Right.
It's got to be Zach LaVine at the very, very least. And I don't care what it takes to get him. I don't care about the future pick swaps or the future first round picks if they're just going to be 26 overall or higher anyway, or 24th overall or higher anyway. You need to go get Damian Lillard. I don't know how the hell you're going to do it. You need to go get Damian Lillard.
The Philadelphia wish list coming out. Lamar, who do you think is a good trade option?
I think he would. I think Portland with them get McCollum and some other pieces back, because I think he won't have to Simmons wouldn't have to handle the ball all the time. He can play more down close to the basket where he's more comfortable at and handle the ball occasionally, but he needs to be close to the basket if he ain't gonna be shooting shots and scared of free throws. That's my thing.
Do you think that gets better? Because like Liam said,
Yeah.
I was watching some of those summer league tapes just yesterday. For some reason, I passed by it somewhere and I got caught watching those, and it was incredible to see him literally standing back there nailing 3-point shots, taking 16-foot jumpers and canning them, over and over, So do you think, that comes back when he goes somewhere? Is it just Philadelphia? I mean, look at Markelle. I mean, Markelle turned himself completely around after leaving there.
If he go in off season, put in the work and shoot a lot of jump shots and stuff, he can turn into a decent jump shooter. He ain't got to be Steph Curry. He just got to be a threat that, okay, I can shoot this. And there's also been talk, I saw Brian Windhurst tweet today talking about he might switch back to his dominant hand being right-handed. So I don't know if
I think we can all agree too, like his shooting motion isn't broken. It's not Lonzo's sideways shot, and it's much more fluid than Giannis's. But here's the thing. Lonzo's worked feverishly to bring that shot from here to here, and he's decently good at it. And while Giannis isn't good at it, he's not afraid of it. And while he shouldn't have been taking 8 threes in a playoff game against the Nets, he won that series. We'll see what he does going forward against the Hawks. But he's not afraid to take free throws, and he's not afraid to shoot mid-range, and he's not afraid to shoot from 3. Ben Simmons can't even be the threat of the shot. I don't care if he shoots 20%. If you take 100 threes in a season and only make 20 of them, at least teams know that there's a chance that you might do this once a game. Once a freaking game. It's utterly infuriating that you see other people in the same position as Ben continue to at least try to progress. Try, operative word. Ben won't try. And that's just the most devastatingly infuriating thing as a fan.
It does seem that way, and I can understand, especially if that's your team, how much that could agitate and stuff. Let's go on real quick to the Bucks, because they won. They beat the Nets. They beat the team that everybody had. I'm going to the finals. No matter what, they could do it. They didn't have to play together all year because the 3 they were. There it is, bouncing around. Giannis. Lamar, what do you think of the Bucks? I mean, first of all, let me just say, one of us here called the Bucks earlier. I'm not going to say who it was, but one of us could say, But Lamar, what do you think of the Bucks?
Yeah, the Bucks played well. Giannis played good. Chris Middleton was hit some big shots. That was key right there. And Drew Holiday had a nice game too in the game. 7 hit some key baskets in the fourth quarter. But I like what they did on defense. They played. I mean, Durant went off 40-something points, but they played them tough, man. And all of them, there wasn't no easy baskets. They made them work. Played physical with him. Yeah.
The defense finally stepped back up, and Giannis not pressing things. He took the ball up sometimes, and I was starting to cringe, going, they're letting him bring it back up the floor again. But then he would give it up to the right person before he made some stupid move. And I was like, you know what? I mean, that's as you say, that's progress, right? That was, I mean, when you saw that going, I started to say, well, okay. And it's not like the Nets play bad with the team that they had. I mean, I think they only had like 3 guys in double figures.
Joe Harris killed the Nets.
Yeah.
They needed him. He supposed to be in this. Everybody's ranting and raving about him all year, and playoffs come. He was nowhere to be found.
Disappeared. A missing persons report out on Joe Harris. Liam, what do you think about the Bucks?
Man, that was an awesome series, and I think that like one thing that's pretty admirable is they were down 2-0, and they lost game 2. At one point, they were down by 49 points, and they lost by 39. it would have been easy to go back home game 3, like feeling like there's no chance for you to beat this team and be down on yourself.
Right.
But they weren't. And then they ended up playing like the most disgusting offensive game in this modern NBA's history in that game 3. No one could hit a shot to save their lives. It was crazy. But the Bucks scratched out that win, and after you're down 2-0, to win a series at being down 2-0, you have to win 4 out of 5 times. That's not easy against someone like Kevin Durant, even with a hobbled James Harden and Kyrie going down in game 4. It's not easy to do that when Kevin Durant gives you 2 virtuoso performances, and 2 of those last 3 games are in Brooklyn. It was just a great showing, and Giannis finally had that playoff moment in game 7, 40 points and 13 rebounds, where he's like, all right, I did this. Like, we did this, but I did this. And Chris Middleton, he had his flashes here and there. Drew Holiday Drew Holiday and Joe Harris canceled each other out for how bad they both were. And, Jeff Green had his games. Blake Griffin had a couple good games. And they basically mirrored, what Chris Middleton did. So it literally came down to who was going to eke out each other ever so slightly, KD or Giannis. Who's going to get the better of each other? And Giannis, game 7, when every home team had won so far, on the road, he hit that hook shot in overtime, and he staked his claim. It was great. It was awesome. And I know he's going to crush the Hawks, and I'm excited to see him in the NBA Finals in a couple weeks.
Yeah, they say that the playoffs is what really makes the player, as we've seen there are those, and we'll talk about Paul George coming up. But, so Lamar, did Chris Middleton take that next step? Can we call him a superstar now?
Still a little bit ways to go, but he showed me a lot this series, because for a while I said, man, I thought he was going to take the next step after the bubble last year, but he hit some big shots. And the thing is, the thing I like about him, he ain't scared to take the shot.
Yeah,
you gotta be wanting to shoot. If you miss, you miss. It is what it is.
He wanted it and he hit him.
Yep.
And it was as though he didn't hesitate. And I don't want to bring it back up with Ben, but you can see the total difference there, where Middleton took it and had a purpose and went with it and wasn't a question about it. And then when he hit those, I think I saw him grow during that series.
Yeah.
Like his confidence just stepped up and up. And now we'll see in this one here. I know you just said you think that they're going to blow the Hawks away. But we've said that over and over. So let's go to the Hawks, because we've said that over and over. It seems like this postseason, and somehow this team just keeps rolling. So Liam, tell me, why are the Hawks still rolling?
All right, so I'm going to get off my Sixers now and try and speak as objectively possible about the Hawks, prefacing the fact that I want them to lose so badly. But
I got something for you too.
But here we go. The Hawks, we need to reevaluate what we've thought about them, as a team or as a construction, since Nate McMillan took over. The Hawks, and what Travis Schlenk, their GM, has built a very, very talented roster, and they're very young. They remind you of what Denver was 3 years ago. Obviously, not the same fitting pieces, but just as a whole. They remind you of what Denver was a couple of years ago. They remind you of what the Grizzlies are right now, and it's just a really good constructed young roster. And they got the right veterans like Lou Will and Capella, you know what I'm saying? And they got the right mix of and a young superstar point guard who for some people discount his game. I think that he's found a way to play effective basketball in his own style, until the league nixes it, like they've been saying they're going to try and stop, implement rules to stop his antics. But they're here because they're a good team with a really, really freaking good coach. And I'm not sure if people really, took Nate McMillan seriously when he was the Pacers coach. But you have to think back too. He was also the Supersonics coach and the Trailblazers coach for 7 years. Mm-hmm. He was the Trailblazers coach through Odin, Roy, and Aldridge. So he had talented teams, and he knows how to coach personalities and superstars. And now he has a superstar point guard, and Nate McMillan himself was a point guard in the NBA. He knows how to relate to Trae Young and get the most out of his
A
abilities.
good shooter too.
He's a pretty decent shooter with range for days, and he's only going to get better percentage wise. He's a little inefficient now, but he takes a lot. He's going to only get better as he gets older. The Hawks need to make sure they extend Nate McMillan like as soon as the season's over. And they're here because they're a good team, and they're only going to get better because they're so young. I'm not ready to say, do I think that I think they'll ever win a championship? Maybe, but they're on the right path, and this is now a type of team that could like really, really entice a big name free agent because of the opportunity to play with Trae, because of the way that they're coached and the way that they play the game. It's a really, really good constructed team. Nate McMillan's done a hell of a job, and the Hawks are for real, and they're here to stay in the Eastern Conference for years to come.
Lamar,
So I'm ready to face them going forward.
Lamar, what's up with the Hawks?
I like the Hawks. Nate McMillan took that team over. Because remember, they were struggling in the first part of the season. Everybody's like, what's wrong with the Hawks? Nate McMillan came in there, cleaned some stuff up. Players start stepping up. Like this Herder, man. I didn't know he can take people off the dribble like that. I was like, man, who was this out here?
White Mamba number 2.
That's why I text somebody last night. I said, when Herder turned into Kobe Bryant.
Yeah. He had some moves, man, in college, especially too. He just it's flourishing finally.
And you don't need to be a tremendous ball handler. All you gotta do is handle the ball enough just to free up so you can get your shot off.
But you remember when the playoffs started, and we all nobody put down Atlanta. We all said, oh no, they're a good team. But they're a couple of years away, and then they just keep winning. Lamar, why are they keep winning though? What are they doing right now that they just keep winning?
I mean, they play hard and they know their roles, and like Liam said, the coaching, man, these playoffs, man, come down a lot it's a lot on the players, but these coaches make a difference. If we got a good coach and you pulling the right strings, it makes a difference.
Yes, they do. And in saying that, Liam, I'm going to go. Let's get to some coaches, because when we're talking about Nate, and you just said they need to sign Nate right now, right? And here's why I think that you are 100% right. Because tell me right now, who out there on this big list of coaches that's out there right now would be better for the Hawks? That's better than Nate McMillan right now.
Nobody. And I was saying earlier today too that this past off season, because obviously Nate McMillan got fired from the Pacers before he signed as part of to be an assistant coach with Lloyd Pierce on the Hawks. I was saying it today on name, brand, and rep alone versus Doc Rivers. You wouldn't hire Nate McMillan, but Nate McMillan was the coach the Sixers should have hired.
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't have had a problem with that. They probably wouldn't be out in that second round.
I agree.
But when we look at the coaches that are out there, Lamar, if you are a team such as, let's say, Dallas, who obviously has some pieces and they're ready to make a move or whatever, but now they don't have a coach either. And you're looking at this group of coaches that are out there. Is there one out there, if you have a team like that you're just like, oh, that's our guy. That's the guy who's going to take us to the promised land?
Some of the names I'm seeing is not really interesting, but I'm really hoping Becky Hammond get that Trailblazer job. I mean, I think she knows the game of basketball. She played point guard. She's been around Coach Pop for all these years, so I know she knows the game. But just gonna hope she get a chance. I would like to see Mark Jackson get a chance too.
Yeah, you always hear his name pop up at this time for whatever reason, whatever happened.
Never get the interview.
Yeah, for whatever happened back then, it got him a thing, but he was the reason that the Warriors changed around. We all know by the time Kirk got there, they were already in mode, and that was due to Jackson. And I think a lot of people do forget that, but I don't know what's going on with him, but I can see that too. And as far as Becky Hammond goes, we all know how good she is. We all know she would be perfect for any of these jobs. But I'm going to ask you both right now, Liam, will she get that chance? Or is this that first year where they go, oh, we're going to bring her in for like Portland, a second interview. And I know the Magic plan on bringing her in for another interview. Is this just where she's at right now, or will she get that legitimate shot that she deserves?
It's funny we're talking about this because Becky Hammond was actually going to be my last word segment. So now I got to think about a new one in the next few minutes. But
You can still do it.
do I think that she'll? I'm not sure if I think that she'll get this Portland job. Although I really want her to, and I want her to because you see what happens right now with Steven Silas in Houston, who worked with Dallas for 20 years to get this head coaching job. As and we all know the plight of African American head coaches and executives in the NBA and the NFL, and Becky Hammond fights more plight than that in the business operation of the sports side because she's a woman. We've never had a woman head coach. So for that matter, I would love it. And obviously we know she knows the game. And the reason I related to Steven Silas is James Harden did not want to play in Houston this year. He didn't give Steven Silas a chance. And I think you saw when they, lost 20 in a row or whatever it was, that dejected press conference with Steven Silas where he's like, I don't know, man. And he just had his head down because he wasn't given a fair shake. Well, if the Blazers hire Becky Hammond, she's getting Damian Lillard off the bat to show you what she can do. And CJ McCollum off the bat, if they don't trade either of them, to show you what she can do, which is why I really, really like the idea of the hire. But I think it comes down to who Damian Lillard signs off on the most. We know he wanted Jason Kidd, and Jason Kidd didn't want to go there. So I think Damian Lillard's voice plays a big influence.
That was strange. How Kidd shut that down right away.
Yeah,
I agree. And I think his explanation was a little weird too. I think just outright there, I didn't want the Portland job because that's what it sniffed like.
Did he not want the pressure because that's who Lillard wanted, and if they don't perform, they're gonna get a lot of backlash or what? I don't know.
What does it mean? I don't want to undermine Portland's process. Well, if Portland's process is hire who Dame wants, then you're not undermining it. So just say you don't want the job.
Yeah, right. I was like, wow, that's kind of. I was like, whoa.
So, what do you guys think of Chauncey Billups? Do you think he's going to get a shot? Do you think he deserves a shot?
Yes, I think he gets a head coaching job this year. I don't know who with. It could be Portland if that's like who Dame wants to go with over Becky. But I really think that this is the year he gets a shot. I don't think it's Indiana. I don't think it's Dallas. But I could definitely see it being Boston because there's reports Boston, by almost whims of public pressure, want to hire a coach of color, which I think you should hire who you think best see fit, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever your coach is. I think you should give a very vetted hiring process. But if you're going to go with a coach of color, then Chauncey Billups or Mark Jackson, like you were saying, Lamar, that's the way to go. I think even Orlando, Paul, would be a great place for Chauncey Billups because he is a startup coach. So he might, want to be with a startup team and really grow with them, show what he can do as far as player development because that's part of coaching too. So yeah, I do think he gets a job. I just don't know where.
Lamar, where does he get a job at?
I think either Portland or Boston.
Really? You think Boston?
Yeah,
huh?
It could be Boston.
Did he not play for Boston at one point?
He did play for one point.
Maybe for a short time, I think.
Yeah, I think he played for a short time there.
As they call it, a cup of coffee in Boston.
Yeah.
For some reason, I can only remember Denver and Detroit.
Yeah, I think he did.
Okay, well, I mean, you guys brought up some good points, and I could also see a team such as Dallas. Here's my predictions right now. I think a team like Dallas would be a perfect spot for Becky Hammond because the owner, Cuban, has always had that progressive attitude towards everything, the way he started off making his team one of those ones where they catered to the players. They did all this, all the stuff that he's done. I think that's a great atmosphere for her to go into. It seems less pressurized, more of the right situation. So I'm going to give that one to there. And if I had to go, I think Chauncey will end up in Portland. And it's because I see that as a great fit. Of course, I don't know anything about anything, but those are my those are my choices for those two. Anyway,
The only reason I'm pushing back on Dallas is because of the reports last week of Bob Voulgaris just ruining everything that's going on in Dallas. Donnie Nelson leaves. That the Athletic report comes out, and it was a great piece. I don't know if either of you read it, but it was just so insightful and so good. And Mark Cuban calls it BS on Twitter. 2 days later, Donnie Nelson's gone, and 3 days later, their coach is gone. So clearly, it wasn't BS. And Luka doesn't like this dude. So there was that report that Bob Voulgaris is telling Rick Carlisle how to construct lineups and stuff when Rick Carlisle felt completely undermined and like his voice wasn't being heard as the head coach for so long, because he was getting to Cuban's ear. So I don't know if that's the spot for Becky, if she's going to be undermined by this guy, who, by the way, was hired for his gambling prowess, not for his basketball intellect as far as executive nature.
Wow. Go ahead, Lamar.
Billups was drafted by the Celtics in 1997, third pick of the draft.
Billups, yeah. Oh, there you go.
And,
I forgot about
where's Rick Carlisle, where he's gonna end up? He's gonna be he's gonna be at the top of a lot of teams' list.
Yeah.
So I saw the Pacers today are looking at head coaches with experience. I know they're looking at Steve Clifford, Terry Stotts, and Brian Shaw in their first round of interviews. And my first
Shaw getting back there?
Where's Rick Carlisle? Rick Carlisle cut his teeth coaching the Indiana Pacers. Like when he was very young, when he still had hair. There's pictures of Rick Carlisle with hair. I was like, oh my God, that's Rick Carlisle? And he's the Pacers coach. Indiana needs to get Rick back. And you know what? Here's a really, really interesting take. Here's a really, really interesting take. The Pelicans need to go hard for Rick Carlisle, in my opinion. But depending on how this season ends, the Milwaukee Bucks, if they get rid of Budenholzer and hire Rick Carlisle, oh man, watch out going forward.
Yeah,
that's the first team that came up when Carlisle left. That everybody sent the Bucks. They thought they was gonna be gone.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, that maybe, just maybe, getting to them conference finals saved his job, though. Like, it afforded him one more year. But if that's the case, and if Carlisle is out there waiting, kind of, that's why you haven't heard his name, maybe everybody kind of know, then maybe he's gone either way if they don't get to the finals. And I also think the same thing, as let's move in to the Clippers and the Suns, because I think the same thing about the Clippers. I think that they were about, there it is, Booker. Good job, Liam. I think that afforded everybody on the Lakers, or on the Clippers, another year, no matter what. Like, that team could have been semi blowing up, getting rid of this. But I think getting over that hump like they did, I think that afforded everybody there one more year as well, regardless of if they move on to the finals or not.
Ty Lue has been phenomenal. It is like this entire playoff run, Ty Lue has just been exceptional in his lineups, in his composure, and his demeanor. And like, obviously you don't know what happens in the locker room, but I have to think that his voice and ever so stoic and professional presence has injected life into the veins of the Clippers franchise, the Clippers' dormant history of their franchise. Kawhi in game 4 of the Utah series goes down, right? And Paul George, that was his best game of the playoffs, that game 4, even next to Kawhi, who also had a pretty good game. And what did you think going into game 5? I thought Utah was for sure going to win the series. I didn't think there was any chance they were going to be losing home games without Kawhi Leonard on the other end. And I thought their defense could key in on Paul George and have to make role players beat them. And lo and behold, Terrence Mann did beat them in game 6. But Paul George hasn't played a bad game since. And that's got to be Ty Lue, because Paul George right now is looking like Indiana Pacer playoff Paul George when he took LeBron James 13 games over 2 straight Eastern Conference Finals. And that's because the pressure is not subsided, but it's off him a little bit. He wasn't supposed to beat those Heat teams, and he played really well. He wasn't supposed to beat Utah when Kawhi went down, and he's been playing really well. And he's now not supposed to beat the Suns. And I guarantee that he's going to continue to play well because he's always been a house money or front running kind of player. And I can tell you this because I'm a huge fan of him. He's one of the players that truly made me fall in love with the game of basketball back in his Pacer days.
Right.
So
right.
I know exactly what he does and who he is. And I think he's going to still continue to play great. I just don't think it's going to be enough.
One of the differences that I think in him right now too, as well as what you said, is I heard him yesterday talking about the loss, and the way he talked about the loss was like, it's okay. We get to learn from this. We got to see what they have for this. We got to see some matchups. We got to see the old Paul George, if you guys remember, would come out for those press conferences after one of his bad games, head down. The answers would be, oh, no. Yeah. And then that was it, right? Where yesterday he talked with such confidence, with such poise, like there was no, yeah, we lost, but it's okay. It was they're at home. It was their game. We'll learn from it. We're gonna get to go. Lamar, tell me what you think of these Clippers and Paul George.
Playing pretty good. Paul George turned it on. Ty Lue has been the big difference. And have some players step up here and there. But
Reggie.
Yeah. Reggie Jackson don't miss a shot now.
He's been playing out of his mind though. He's been
playing well, but the Suns got the thing about the Suns, though, they got a lot of people coming at them. They ain't gonna get out coached like Snyder did in Utah.
Yeah.
Ain't no way. That's why nobody was picking Utah to go to the finals. Exactly, you saw it in that series.
That is a good point, and that's something else that I forgot. Do you think, real quick, is as we talked about these teams that are safe because they may have gone on, are the Utah Jazz safe, or are they about to be blowing up?
I don't see no way they can get better. I mean, they got exposed bad in that series with the Clippers spreading, putting 5 players that can shoot on the floor, making Gobert come away from the basket, and Gobert ain't no threat in the offense, so they didn't have to guard him in the post.
Right.
And it hurt him. You can see he's getting dunked on and everything. I was like, they better get this guy out of the game if they want to win. And
that was the defensive player of the year right there.
And they never met that. Snyder never made that adjustment.
Yeah. It just makes me think though, like if Rudy Gobert almost became like unplayable is the wrong word. But if he became such a liability over the past few playoffs because teams expose him by playing smaller and trying to drag him out to the perimeter, then is it this way for every sort of unathletic center, whether you're defensively talented or not? Paul, I just want to throw this out there to you. If Ty Lue, if the Clippers this year played the Nuggets, right, with or without Jamal Murray, and they tried to expose Joker in the same way that they exposed Gobert, do you think Joker would be standing any shot? Because Joker, 1, is not known as a defender like Gobert is, but 2, has the same slow-footed, non-super athletic problem, unlike an Embiid or an Adebayo or an DeAndre Ayton, who's more quick-footed, right? So is that just a problem with slower centers? Is that they're just going to get exposed every playoffs no matter how good of a defender they are?
I don't. Go ahead, Paul.
No, go ahead, Laura.
I don't think the thing is if Nuggets will slow the game down, just throw it in the Joker, and the pace would be all jacked. The pace would be all jacked up, and all the Clippers would be in foul trouble. Clippers were able to get away with that because Gobert is not a threat on offense. If they tried to play the Joker with Batum on him, it'd be barbecue chicken, like Shaq say down there.
Yeah, to me, it comes down to that basketball IQ is the difference there, because Gobert doesn't have that same, and I'm not trying to put him down at all. I think he's a good player and all that, but I don't see his basketball IQ. Sometimes when he's out there on the floor, he's going by his skill and his ability to be long and block, just by being long and having that little bit of skill, but the knowledge isn't all there. And that's the difference between him and Joker. Even though I agree with you, they play the same
Yeah.
slow bodied style type of movement. But like Lamar said, Joker would have had him over here. And once he saw the little guy on him, now he's turning around and backing him down. He can toss over his head. He could do, where Gobert doesn't think that way. Sometimes you see him get the ball, and when he's on offense, he tries to make his offense.
It's like I can't remember what year it was when the Warriors upset Dallas. I think it was 2007. When they found out, okay, Nowitzki ain't gonna post up, so we just gonna put smaller players on them and defend them that way and get physical with them. You got them when you got smaller players on you. You gotta make them pay. And if they know, Ty Lue figured out, okay, they ain't gonna go to Gobert in the post. So why are we gonna play Zubac?
Well, now we've seen this. This iteration, the Quinn Snyder iteration of the Jazz has now been in 5 playoffs. And they've lost to the Warriors, who went small against Gobert. They've lost to the Rockets twice, who went small against Gobert. They've lost to the Clippers, who went small against Gobert. And they lost to the Nuggets, who Jamal Murray torched them, and they went small against Gobert. Sans Jokic, who's obviously much better than Gobert. So now we've seen this. We've seen this 5 times that the 3-time Defensive Player of the Year gets semi to fully exposed in the playoffs. So Lamar, like you said, you don't know how they get better. The only way they get better is to try and get more athletic. They have to get a more athletic center or a more offensively minded center. Like DeAndre Ayton would absolutely work, even if he's not stroking threes. They need someone who's more offensively minded and more athletically gifted to go with Jamal Murray. The rest of the team's going to be athletic too.
So do they
go in the offseason and develop a hook shot and some moves.
Yeah. I mean, big guys used to go down and practice with.
That's the only way you're gonna make. That's the only way you're gonna make them pay if they're playing small. If you take them to the post and they gotta run those little guys, they gotta get them out of the game if they're gonna try to run small players on you.
He is a big, strong dude.
Yeah,
no reason.
All you gotta do it right? When somebody's small. All you gotta do is get under the basket and turn around, throw up a jump hook.
Yeah. So do the Jazz completely blow up? Do they get rid of their coach? Do they keep Mitchell? Because I've seen a lot of social media stuff of him saying certain things, that maybe he may want to be out of Utah, or do they keep him and just get rid of Gobert and start building around Mitchell? What do they do?
I think they need to try and get rid of Gobert, obviously, and build around Donovan. That's your superstar, and that's who you should look to make, as happy as possible to move forward with your franchise. I'm running it back with Clarkson. I'm running it back with Ingles. I'm running it back with Mike Conley. I'm running it back with Royce O'Neal. I'm running it back with – I'm missing someone probably, but maybe that's it. I'm running it back with that core of players and trying to upgrade at Rudy Gobert. And I'm absolutely riding with Quinn Snyder. I get that he got out coached by Ty Lue. Right now, everyone's getting out coached by Ty Lue. Ty Lue right now looks like the best strategic coach in basketball. But Quinn Snyder, to me, is a top – I don't want to say 5 because I feel like that's broad. Or I'm not broad enough. So a top 7 coach in the NBA. And that's absolutely coveted as you look to secure a championship. No real bad coach that you can think of or not great coach that you can think of in recent history has won a title. If 2016 played out the same way, the only possible answer to that would have been David Blatt. And obviously he was replaced by Ty Lue. So you have to ride with Quinn Snyder. He's a great coach. He really is a great coach. And what you see with Utah, and I said this earlier as far as the Hawks with player development or, Chauncey getting an upstart, trying to do player development. That's what Quinn Snyder's been great at is development of his players. And they really, really love him and the culture he's instilled. And he looks like a vampire and it's so cool. And you got to keep Quinn Snyder.
Okay. Well, So that's the NBA playoffs, but there is something else very special in the NBA that only the NBA has, and that is the NBA's draft lottery. And that will come to us tomorrow night, I believe. I don't know, somewhere around 8 o'clock.
8:30. 8:30.
8:30. Okay. I know we got the Magic are going to talk to us at 9:30, so I knew it had to be before that anyway. But so let's talk the NBA draft lottery. First of all, I want to know just a quick little. Do you think the draft lottery is a good idea?
I do, ever since they revised the way that it's done. Now this is going on the third year that the draft lottery has increased odds for more teams at the bottom to insinuate that that we don't want tanking in this league, right? And I think that was done by my Philadelphia 76ers. Sorry.
Right.
But we've gotten to the point where it was very predictable how the draft lottery would play out, and there'd be a few, tinkers with the order every couple years maybe, and you'd be like, oh, that's exciting. Well, 2 years ago, in the first year of this new implementation, the Pelicans, with way long odds, are able to land Zion Williamson in the same offseason that their cornerstone piece, Anthony Davis, is out of here. That's the story the league wants, right? I love the idea that the worst three teams now have tied odds to get that number one pick, instead of the Timberwolves or the Sixers over the past 7 years being able to purposely lose games to make sure that your odds are way in favor of getting that one pick, because both of them have had it twice in the past 7 years. So that I love it. I love the idea that these odds are increased, because right now, what is it? It's Magic, Rockets, and Pistons, right, that have the top three odds. Well, it's not even guaranteed that one of those three teams gets the one pick. Any team from 3 to 7 realistically has a shot, and that's cool. So yes, the lottery is good.
Lamar, do you like it? And also tell me who we're fighting for this year. Is there a clear number one that we're fighting for?
Yeah, I like the lottery, the revised way, like Liam said. Before it was like lose as many games you can, you get the most ping pong balls in there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure happy it's not like the NFL where the worst record get first pick. It'd be a lot. If it was like that, it'd be a lot of tanking every year.
Yeah.
But as far as prospects go, I think everybody say Cade Cunningham, but I like Evan Mobley from USC.
Oh yeah.
Give me Jalen Suggs.
Yep. And it's funny though, because that's why I asked that question, because I like Suggs.
Suggs is nice.
I like him too. I'm not a big Cade fan, but I know he's going to do somebody really good when he comes in.
You're Orlando Magic.
Yeah, and if they go that way, I just hope they don't go that way. First of all, they have too many Cade type guys on their team right now, so he would just come in and be another one that they have. So they're looking for something else than that type of a player to me. But we've heard all kinds of stuff about these guys, and I heard somebody like you, I like Suggs, but then I heard the other day, man, somebody just going, talking about he shouldn't even be in the top 10 pick, So, I mean, is there a consensus? Is there somebody out there that's that good that's going to go 1, 2, or 3?
I don't think there's a consensus. I think it could be a lot more of
you in good shape if you're at any of it.
Team need. But I think that you have to, if you're the Magic, right? If you're the Magic or the Pistons, it's harder for you to get fan engagement, with losing product over a bigger market like the Houston Rockets, who share the odds with you guys to get the one seed, to get the one pick. So I think that the clear money making and also potential franchise changing pick is to go box office, as opposed to the Rockets, who might be able to draft more of who you think is the most sure bet, because their fan base is going to carry over win or lose because of the size of the city. It's very, very interdependent on these kind of things that kind of take it out of basketball, that make it a little weird. But if I'm the Magic or the Pistons with the one pick, I'm going for the big name stud to get butts in the seats.
Yeah. Now, here is my prediction for whatever the hell it's worth, but I see that there is no clear consensus number one gotta have guy. So to me, this is the kind of draft that's going to go a lot of trades.
I think so. Yeah, could
Let's
be.
yeah, let's take a team like the Magic. To me, they could get the number one pick, but I don't see a guy who could come in from them. Their team is all young. I mean, they're in that range to 23 years old, 19, 23, 24. You got a couple of them that are older, Terrence Ross, but otherwise they're a young team. So do you want to throw another one of them on? And they've made indications that they are not going to stay a young team, that they are going to find veterans in this off season. So to me, it would make sense that if a team like them, if the Magic got the number one pick, that's their opportunity to trade that and maybe a key piece, or they also get Chicago's pick. So where does Chicago end up? Because if they're in the top or out of the top five, I believe it is, then the Magic gets, so if they end up at five, the Magic get that pick as well. So they have a chance to have picks, which they have a bunch of already. They have cap space. They'll have that number one pick if they get it. To me, that's a recipe for you going and getting that one big veteran that you want to guide these young people. And it's not just the Magic, though, as we've talked about already. You got the Sixers, you got people. Everybody is looking to maybe shake up a little bit. So to me, I just see this as maybe a draft that's going to be more about trades than straight keeping your picks.
Well, that could be true, Paul. But I haven't heard anything on the Magic coaching front. Like, are they having first round interviews with anybody? Have they said anything?
Yes, they have had it with Becky Hammond and I believe Chauncey, if I remember. But those are the only words that I've heard right now. They have a policy. They don't like to talk about stuff like that. They won't tell
Yeah.
us until they have
They,
something or
they just
whatever.
hire somebody and be like, what?
Yeah, they do it all the time. All of a sudden you get a thing saying, well, the person that you did what? You got what player? You did what? They don't do anything like that. They don't talk about you when you're hurt. They don't do, and they're very hush hush organization.
I that makes a lot of sense, because back in my ever so crazed I need to know every single intricacy of the NBA days, when even just the past couple of years when Mo Bamba or Jonathan Isaac are hurt, and I'm just like, and I don't even know they're hurt, I'm just like looking them up, I'm like, why aren't they playing these games? And
Right.
there's no articles or anything, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. And you don't know anything about their recovery. They'll tell you they're coming along great. That's
Let's
about
get
what you
Dan
get.
Savage back on the show. I would love for him to hire me as the Magic news breaking guy, and I'll bring this fruition to life. I'll do it. Dan, I'm here.
Yes, Dan, there's your open invitation again to come back. We'd love to have you. So that's the draft. What do you think about that though, Lamar? Do you think it's going to be a draft of taking somebody and keeping them, or do you see trades going down?
I think it's going to be some trades going down. I'm really interested in seeing what the Thunder are going to do with all their picks.
Oh my God,
They got so many picks the next 5 to 6 years.
I'm with you. I want to see what they do. They are got to be one of the most interesting teams out there with the amount of money and picks that they have at their disposal. They could do just about anything they want to do.
Yeah.
So that should be fun. Okay, man. Well, that you guys, that covers the NBA for right now. I mean, that was a lot, but we probably missed a bunch of good stuff. But that's what we have next week for. So we will do that again. Right now, let's go to our parting shots, and we'll start off with Lamar. You got a parting shot for us?
Yeah, just pretty much just been enjoying these playoffs, man. Been a lot of classic series and good games. What you want to see in the playoffs.
For sure. I've been loving it, man, especially after a season that I thought was a little weak because of those back-to-back games. But Liam, what do you got for us?
No matter the injuries or the ravaging of COVID or whatever, or the asterisk on the bubble title or the asterisk on this year's title because of the path that wasn't traveled, so to speak. One of Paul George, Chris Paul, or Giannis Antetokounmpo is winning an NBA championship this year. Notice I didn't say Trae Young, but that doesn't need to be actually stated that much. But one of those three guys is winning an NBA championship this year. Not only is it good for the league, but it's like good for the hearts of true fans such as us who like watch these guys' careers play out, and we see their ups and we see their downs. And like I said, like I'm a huge Paul George fan. Like he's last on my list of people I want to see win a championship, in opposed to Chris Paul and Giannis. Like we've been watching Chris Paul for so long. We've been watching, this amazing ascension of Giannis Antetokounmpo. If one of these dudes caps off this season with the championship, man, it's just going to be so cool. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be like, even in spite of the Sixers, it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome.
Right. Okay. For me, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you my initial Paul George apology to Paul George. Okay. My sincere apology. I have probably been one of the people who have been hardest on him, no matter when it comes. I always said it, when it comes to the playoffs, I ain't worried about him. Not worried about him at all. And he showed this year. He came through when he needed to. Right after Durant had his game, and everybody was so hyped that Durant did, and then Paul George did the same thing. And that changed my attitude. And then he came back the very next game and did it again. Then watching his interviews. So he has changed me. I apologize, Paul George. I am on your bandwagon for at least a series. I don't know. But I do apologize, and I congratulations to Paul George. All right, everybody. I thank you guys, man. Thank you for hanging out with me again. This was much needed. It's been too long. Love the jerseys. Let's see who we got next week right there. This is sponsored, of course, by the everydayfan.com, where we all contribute pieces on there. Please come and check us out. We all got stuff that we spend nice, hard, long time working on, and we'd love you guys to appreciate it. Again, thank you guys for coming, and we will see you guys next week, huh?